About 6 months ago, I lost my job, and I'm still unemployed. My severance has since run out. My mom texts me every single day, concerned about my well-being and how I'm gonna afford rent in the most expensive city in the United States. And for the first time in a long time,
So I imagine he's from New York, or he's living in New York. It is a very expensive city, and even if you get a good severance package, your expenses tend to add up over time. So don't get very confident in that. Oh well, you will find a job in 2 months or in a few weeks. It can take you a very long time.
my friends invite me out, I have to look at the number of dollar signs on the restaurant to decide if I can go. Don't worry, I'm not on the streets just yet, clearly. I lived at home during COVID, and that was honestly a lifesaver because
I imagine he's earning a decent amount of money on YouTube. This guy, it's the first time that I watch one of his videos, but he has like 200,000 subscribers. He has a decent amount of views, so he's earning some money with his channel.
I have some savings now that I can use during these tough times. We should normalize living with our parents. It's quite common for Indian culture, but not so much in others, and I'm not sure why. Now, I'm sure you can agree that the tech market is absolutely trash right
Yes, it is. It is interesting how this changes between different cultures. And I believe that nowadays it is not uncommon for people to live with their parents until they are 30 or even 40.
right now. There really is no argument there. But I can't really blame the tech market for all of my problems because I actually recruited and got some pretty decent job offers, but then I declined all of them. So the obvious question you're probably thinking is why? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you. And
Yeah, he's doing well.
if you're following the recruiting series, then welcome back. I'm going to reflect on the last 6 months and then tell you all the lessons I've learned along the way because hindsight is 20/20, baby. In this market, the companies have all the power, so maybe it's about time I just accept that beggars can't be choosers. But I'm not ready to do that because I have confidence in myself, and it's just like I tell all of you. It's not if we'll get that dream job, it's just a matter of when. I'd rather take...
It is great that he has a lot of confidence in his skills. And then again, he doesn't really need a job. It doesn't look like he really needs to get a job as soon as possible. He has his YouTube channel, he has savings, so he's not really like, he's not desperate to get a job.
something I'm genuinely excited about rather than something just because. Here's how the last 6 months have been. If you're new to the channel, or just to recap, my name is Naman. I'm a software engineer. I went to Rice University and studied computer science.
Great.
I've interned at Schlumberger, Microsoft, Gusto, and then in June of 2020, upon graduation, joined Bolt, a fintech startup in San Francisco. I was there for just about 3 years, of which the first 2, fondest memories ever. The last one, not so much. We had multiple rounds of layoffs, and then I too was unfortunately let go in June of 2023. And if you want to watch that entire saga unfold, check out this video right here. I signed a severance agreement which covered some benefits and then gave me the equivalent of X weeks of pay. If you're interested in a full breakdown of the severance document page by page, comment the word severance below. That's severance.
Yes, usually with severance packages, they tell you that you are going to get X amount of weeks of pay. So it usually depends on the number of years that you have been in a company. For example, they can tell you that for each year that you have been in a company, you get, I don't know, 1 month of salary.
Severance has since been depleted, and now I'm living entirely off of my savings. But just for a minute, let's go back to the good old severance days. Since I'd been working basically nonstop for the past 3 years, I never really got an opportunity to take a break, so I purposely decided not to recruit. I had just moved to New York City, it was summertime, and I decided to just enjoy life for a bit. In a way, I didn't realize how exhausting it is to do a job, and I'm not talking about the coding or debugging or even designing, the fun stuff. I'm talking about all the work you do just to make it look like you're working. The Slack updates, stand-ups, responding in threads, messages, or what managers like to say, optics. Well, for the first time in a very long time, I had no optics, no one to respond to. I could just truly be myself. My time was my own. Without digressing too much, I enjoyed a summer in New York City, one of the best things you can do. I spent time outdoors, I experimented with new creative YouTube videos, and then some days, I just bummed on the couch and watched TV. It was a well-deserved break, and honestly, the first time I just said F you to hustle culture and did nothing. At some point, it became evident that I needed to get a job, for 2 main reasons. One,
it is great that he did that. I always encourage people that get laid off. It just, in my humble opinion, it's not like I am a professional coach or anything like that, but if you get fired from your job, just take some time for yourself to heal, to enjoy life, take a nice vacation, go visit another country, maybe, I don't know, relax, play some video games, take some time to just relax and have fun.
I needed money. Money is nice, it buys things. And two, I was getting a little bored. And I've never felt this before because when you're working, you always want to not work. But try it for a bit. Just go do all the things you've been meaning to do that you've put off. And at some point, you'll get bored of that too, which is a good thing. It means you've recharged your batteries and you're ready for something else. So I started looking. And that actually brings us to lesson number 1. Always be looking. It's like the common adage, always be selling. At least that's what investors tell founders.
A, always be B, C, closing. Always be closing.
Well, I'm realizing that's exactly how recruiting is too. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you should always be recruiting. In the past 3 or so months when I was just chilling, I should have put out feelers and set up coffee chats and passively applied to companies online. You don't have to be in full recruiting beast mode, but keep the leads warm. Put a little bit of effort in, because once it gets cold and you have to start from scratch, it's so much harder. For what it's worth, I'd actually gone through a pretty intensive recruiting cycle in spring of 2023 while I was still employed, so I guess I did listen to my own advice back then. I'd actually gotten some pretty dope senior software engineering offers, but I ended up turning them down because my manager convinced me to stay, which I know was a mistake because in just a few weeks after that, I was laid off. Super messed up, I know, I'm over it.
As I have told you guys, the best time to look for a job is when you don't need one. So if you already have a job, even if you are not getting fired or something like that, there is nothing wrong with applying to different companies to see how it goes. That keeps your skills fresh. You keep studying. You don't have to go beast mode like he says and interview with 10, 20, 50 different companies.
I've healed, thank you. So anyways, I decided to start looking for jobs the first week of October, like just about October 1st, 2023. But this time it's not proactively, like in the spring, it's out of necessity. And honestly, I was pretty complacent because in the back of my mind, I was just like, oh, the offers I got in the spring, they'll probably take me back if they have headcount. I mean, yes, that's how it usually works. If you think about it from their perspective, they spent so much time, energy, resources hiring me, they liked me. I was ready to come, but then decided not to. So as long as there's no burned bridges, we should be good. Lesson number 2, always reach out to old flames. No, I'm not talking about your ex-partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. I'm talking about your ex-coworkers, managers, friends. As long as you didn't burn the bridges, that's a professional relationship you can leverage. Yeah. So I started to reach out to my network, but I'm not going to go into a full recruiting break.
Yes, there is nothing wrong with keeping in touch with your old friends or colleagues. Just say hi from time to time, or how are you, what are you doing? Maybe grab a few drinks with them. It is good to keep your connections alive.
Breakdown of the entire process yet, since it's not over and I don't have a job. Imagine if I titled this video how to get a job, but then I'm unemployed trying to give you advice. That'd be a little strange.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is what I've been through so far, the experience in these last 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Here's the first conversation on the calendar. The company I'd already gotten an offer from in the spring. George picks up, my heart is beating super fast, my hopes are up, and I don't want to recruit if I don't have to, so if I can just accept this, it'd be so great. But they unfortunately tell me that they just don't have the headcount. They're super nice about it, and this company is honestly goated. Great benefits, great people, great pay. I should have taken it when I had the opportunity. S-tier company. But sometimes things just aren't meant to be. To continue leveling up in your software engineering career, consider Coursera's new Google Data Analytics Professional Certificate. It's taught by arguably the most iconic company in the world and has over 140,000 positive reviews. Over a span of 6 months at about 10 hours per week, completely self-paced, you'll walk through 8 course modules covering everything from data foundations and exploration to visualization and R programming. With the right balance of theory and practice, you'll graduate with an immersive understanding of the daily processes used by junior data analysts in their day-to-day job. And by learning key analytical skills like data cleaning, analysis, and visualization, and tools like spreadsheets, SQL, R programming, and Tableau, you'll qualify for in-demand job titles like data analyst, junior data analyst, and associate data analyst. Ready to turn data into your superpower? Well, enroll by November 30th using my special link in the description to get an additional free course, Google AI Essentials. Now let's get back to the video. So then I continue looking. I set up some first chats, do some first round interviews, and they go okay, as good as you'd expect the first couple interviews after a long time of interviewing to go. To come across as competent, but confident, but not too confident, so humble at the same time, that's a fine line. It takes practice, and the only way to get better is by doing more of them. People are so obsessed with leak code questions, and yes, that matters a little, but doing real interviews, not mock interviews, not practice interviews, that's how you get better. You need to fail, make a fool of yourself, and feel embarrassed when that call ends and you're like, oh my God, what was that? that's how you move forward.
Yes, that's something that people tend to underestimate, the personal or the human part of the interviews. You can do great on the technical skills or the coding side of the interviews, but if the interviewer doesn't like you, he will not recommend you. So it is important to also be comfortable with talking to people. As I know that's sometimes hard because many of us engineers are not the most social people in the world, but it is something that we need to master if we are going to be interviewing, especially in in-person interviews.
Lesson number 3, do real interviews. By this point, I've done so many first round chats and companies are telling me that they're looking for more senior engineers, with one company actually having 2 levels for senior. They have like a junior senior engineer and then a senior engineer. I know it's super strange, but I apparently fall in the middle or the junior senior engineer and they want the higher one. It was crazy. Then there's this one
It is weird that companies have all of these levels that are junior senior, then senior senior, then principal senior engineer. It makes things weird. I don't know why they can't just tell you with numbers. I know that there are levels that are assigned in different companies like L2, L3, L4, L5, but it's not sometimes clear and it's not even a standard. These kind of naming conventions are just weird sometimes.
company that's objectively not that good. And I'm not trying to be entitled, I'm just saying compared to even in this trash market, the compensation offers, the caliber of engineer, the caliber of company you can get, this one wasn't it. It's Warner Media, pretty legacy entertainment powerhouse. And then I absolutely crush it, which this is the first time in this process that's happened. I walk out and I'm like, oh my God, 45-minute interview. I did that in 15 minutes. All test cases passed. Code was clean. There's no way I don't get the offer. Well, isn't it only when you feel so confident that things don't go well? Because I've done interviews where I feel like I failed and I somehow magically passed, but it's never the other way around. Why is that? Why? So yes, they reject me. And the recruiter calls and he's like, hey, Naman, quick question. I know you didn't, but just in case, had you seen the interview question before or did you use AI to solve it? I was like, what? No, of course I didn't. He claims that didn't contribute to the rejection, but come on, let's be honest. If they had any inkling that that's what happened during the interview, they're not going to take a chance, so they rejected me. Now, I'm not trying to say I didn't pass because I was just too cracked, but I guess they think I cheated. But I don't even know what advice to give you here. Like maybe make more mistakes, which is mostly me trolling, but I'm not sure. I guess look more human than I did. Lesson number 4.
It is weird that happens all the time. Sometimes you feel like you did amazing and they don't hire you, and sometimes you feel like you did very bad and they hire you, or at least they give you an offer. So that has happened to me before, that you feel like you crushed the interview, you pass every single round, and at the end of the day they just tell you that sorry but not sorry, you're just not what we are looking for. And it is I don't know, sad and depressing. And it is a little funny to me that he was so good in his interviews that he managed to solve his coding problem in 15 minutes rather than in 45 minutes. And that's why they rejected him, because they felt like he used some kind of AI, or he maybe he cheated. So it's a little funny and sad at the same time.
Or be good, but not that good. Again, mostly trolling, but I guess in the age of AI with all these LLMs, you could have it open on another monitor. So don't do that. But when you're doing the problems, I guess speak more to the camera, maybe stutter a little bit, act more nervous. I'm not really sure. It hasn't happened again after that, but if it does, I'll let. So by this point, the first interview I crushed, but then got rejected, definitely broke my morale. But no worries. Story gets better. I get an interview with a company I'm actually really excited about for a couple reasons. I use them, they're really good, and my ex-coworker works there and only has good things to say about them. So I mean that's like a winning combo. Unfortunately, the job description says they're looking for 6+ years of experience in the industry, but also more specifically in Java. And the last time I used Java was in college. We had a couple of classes, couple assignments. There's no way I know how to write industry level Java. And honestly, I don't even remember the syntax anymore. None of my internships used Java and both used Go. So this is right about the time when I fly back to Houston to be home for a bit. So I decided I should probably start prepping. No distractions. Regardless, I end up applying with my friend's referral and get the interview, which just goes to show you that even though the job description says I wasn't qualified, if you have a warm internal connection, they can go to bat for you and you can kind of finesse your way.
Yes, referrals are one of the best ways to at least get an interview. That they don't guarantee that you are going to get the job, but having a referral from someone inside the company is going to at least not always, but usually it's going to get someone to look at your resume. It's not going to just be discarded because they will know that someone that already has experience in the company knows that you are good. So that's one of the most effective ways to get an interview.
Lesson number 5, always get referrals.
Yeah.
I was so hyped, but also so nervous because I actually really wanted this job. So I wanted to do well. Shout out to my boy for the referral. I end up going home and then I relearned Java from scratch essentially in 2 days. And I live streamed the entire process. I'm not sure if any of you tuned into that. I pull up for the first round and I actually end up passing, with the only feedback being that if the candidate knew more Java, they would have done better, but all the skills were there. So thanks to the interviewer for realizing skills matter, not programming languages. Anyways, I get the onsite, but now I'm even more scared because it's a system design interview and I haven't done any of these yet. If you aren't familiar, these are really important for any role that is basically not nuke grad software engineering, and you can't really get any offers that are senior unless you kill the design portion of it.
Yes, the system design interviews are always the scariest ones for me. They basically ask you to design a system for some kind of platform. For example, they can tell you that, I don't know, we want you to design the infrastructure of the Netflix recommendation system, or we want you to design the, I don't know, stuff like that. So it's one of the things that it's usually overlooked, but it is very important because, as just like he said, it is something that they will ask if you are going for any role besides very junior level roles.
The onsite, which makes sense because the hardest part of building new features is designing them in the first place, not just to work correctly, but to also be extensible, scalable, and all the other buzzwords. And while I've worked on my fair share of meaty problems, I'm still quite junior in the grand scheme of things, so I haven't worked on any Netflix level architecture that I can talk about confidently. But we out here and we trying our best. I was doing a lot of these first round interviews and even some virtual onsites from home, either in New York or in Houston, but this specific company's onsite was actually in their downtown Manhattan office. Remember when onsites meant that companies would fly you out, put you in a hotel, and then you'd interview on site, like literally in a conference room with these other real engineers? Yeah, the good old days. Pepper Ridge Farm remembers. I'll spare you all the details, but if you're interested, just comment and maybe I'll make a video with like a real deep dive of this specific interview and maybe some other ones too. But I passed. Yes, I passed the onsite. I passed the system design interview. I have no idea why because my system was not that efficient, but I think I just really got along with the other 2 interviewers in the room. And I think people forget how important that is. Lesson number 6, don't forget the airport test.
It is very important to get along with your interviewer and with the people that are interviewing you, because they are the ones that are going to be working with you usually, not all the time, but usually, and they don't want to hire someone that doesn't get along with the team. I know that might be strange for people. It's like, well, the skills are the ones that matter, right? But it's not the case. You need to get along with people. You need to be polite. I remember this. There was this guy that I interviewed many years ago. He had decent coding skills, but every time that I tried asking him a question, he just answered me with a one-word statement. I was asking him something like, "Oh, cool! You worked with Unity, and you probably had to design the physics and the program the controls for your characters. What was? Explain to me the process." Yes, it was difficult. I kept trying to help him, and he just didn't say anything. It is hard to recommend someone like that.
People are so caught up in doing well in the interview, like actually passing it in terms of code quality or correctness, that they forget that they're going to have to work with these humans, and these humans are going to have to work with them. And that might matter even more than getting the question right. It's like the vibe or the airport test, where essentially if you were stuck in an airport with one of these coworkers or this candidate you're interviewing, would you hate your life or would you go and grab a drink with them? You'd obviously want the latter because it means that they fit in with your culture and you enjoy being around them. Anyways, I end up getting the offer just about a week later and I am hype. But there's one thing no one told me, which was that this company gave you equity that was backdated. Just like Amazon, where your equity grant was weighted towards your later years instead of your first couple. So if you had a 4-year vesting period, you'd only get 15 or 20% your first 2 years and then the bulk of it in your third and fourth. From the company's perspective, this makes sense because it incentivizes employees to stay longer. They have to if they want to get the bigger parts of their equity grant. But I'd already been burned from one startup before and I wasn't trying to F around and find out again. I asked if the equity terms were flexible, but they said no because they weren't going to make an exception just for me. At this point, it didn't matter that the company was profitable, that they were probably going to IPO soon, or even that the dollar amount of equity they were giving me was substantial. I just didn't want to get locked in like that. So this company ended up becoming the one who got away. It was a little sad because I was going to get the opportunity to work with one of my ex-coworkers again, who's actually on the same org as me at Bolt, but it wasn't meant to be. It's okay though, he lives in New York, I see him all the time, we're good friends. Last but not least, I know I'm missing the 2 stories I promised you, the company I really wanted, but I just failed the interview, and the company that I wanted, I started celebrating, and then they said, actually, sorry, no. Well, as I'm recording this, I'm realizing this video is becoming really long, and those 2 other companies, they deserve videos of their own, because the tea is quite hot and spicy, masala chai. So I'm gonna make a game time decision right now, sorry to my editor who's probably editing this video right now. We're going to extend our original recruiting series. We're just going to keep these stories going so you can follow along as I get that coveted dream offer. We already talked about the broken senior-only developer market. I shared every single interview question I've been asked so far, and now you know what the past 6 months have been like. Next up is the almost $500,000 per year offer I just didn't end up getting, and that company that pulled it away at the very last minute. So much more to come. Stay tuned.
Great video. It's the first time that I watch one of his videos. His channel looks very interesting. I will definitely keep watching his content. So yeah, great. I hope you guys enjoyed my video and my reaction. I'm trying to reach 50 subscribers. So if you liked what I said, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and see you the next time.